My name is David Chiu. I am the City Attorney of San Francisco. And on behalf of our city, I want to thank those of you who are gathered today who are stepping up, who have answered the call. Earlier this month, we were all shocked to read a draft of a Supreme Court opinion, a decision that would overturn Roe v. Wade and set our country back by 50 years. This is a very dark moment for the highest court in our land and our country's rule of law. The potential consequences of this opinion cannot be underestimated. We're not just talking about the arrests, the prosecutions, the criminal convictions of women seeking reproductive health care or medical professionals providing that care. We know from history that women will die because of this decision. Now, over the years, the Bay Area has had a proud tradition of lawyers taking up the fight for justice, of leading our country. During the turmoil of the 1960s, Bay Area lawyers formed the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, leveraging the efforts of thousands of pro bono attorneys. After a mass shooting at a downtown San Francisco law firm, Bay Area lawyers started the Legal Community Against Violence, which has led the national fight for gun safety. And when no one thought it possible, Bay Area lawyers in our San Francisco City Attorney's Office teamed up to lead the fight for marriage equality. Today, we are here to announce that the San Francisco City Attorney's Office, the Bar Association of San Francisco, and at this time, over 20 law firms are joining forces to launch the Legal Alliance for Reproductive Rights. This alliance will seek to provide pro bono services to address the myriad of legal needs of pregnant women and health providers who will be facing civil suits and criminal charges for seeking or providing reproductive health care. Our city attorney's office will be looking for affirmative litigation opportunities to protect reproductive rights. We'll be advising our policymakers on how we protect that access to care, and we'll be teaming up with these law firms and the lawyers standing with us today and hundreds of their colleagues, as well as other public law offices. Reverend Martin Luther King taught us that the ultimate measure of a person is not where we stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where we stand at times of challenge and controversy. As lawyers, as officers of the court, we cannot stand idly by during this most precarious moment for constitutional rights in our lifetimes. I am very grateful to the Bay Area legal community for stepping up today during this moment to stand up for justice and the rule of law. And today, we invite and challenge legal communities around our state and our country to join us. Together, we can dispel the darkness. I am honored to be joined today by significant leaders in our legal community and beyond. We're going to hear from our first speaker, the president of the Bar Association of San Francisco, Mary McNamara.
Thank you, David. Esteemed members of the San Francisco legal community, just over a month ago, Mayor Breed declared April 27 the Bar Association of San Francisco Day. The mayor was honoring 150 years of work that this Bar Association has done since its founding in 1872. We have advocated for every major civil rights cause in the country. We have been leaders in the world in this regard. And for the past 50 years, we have advocated for reproductive justice. In 1970, before Roe v. Wade, we called for the removal of restrictions from abortion in this state. In the 1970s and 80s, we advocated for reproductive justice causes. We've signed on to every major brief before the Supreme Court. Today, as David said, we are joining together to form a new coalition, the Legal Alliance for Reproductive Rights. We know that the finest law firms in this city, everybody here, has not only joined but rushed to join this effort to protect the newly vulnerable class of pregnant people in this country. They are doing so to uphold the basic right of legal personhood for all pregnant people, the basic right for assisters, supporters, the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the fathers, the grandparents, everybody who helps a woman obtain an abortion. These people are now going to be the subject of civil and criminal prosecution in half this country. All of these firms recognize that a woman has a basic right to control her own health care. All of them recognize that women are now going to be forced to give birth, even women who have been raped, women who have been abused, women who are too young to carry a child, too poor to have another child, women who have precarious pregnancies. All of them are going to be endangered through the fall of Roe. In a post-Roe world, as David has said, it's not just that women will be arrested or civilly prosecuted for doing what any other person can do with his or her body. Women will indeed die. Women die already in this country in giving childbirth. In fact, we have the highest maternal mortality rate in the developed world, and it's a rate that has been climbing for 2 decades. The fall of Roe is going to usher in a new, appallingly high maternal mortality rate. People of color will suffer the most. The poor will get poorer. Abortion is not just basic health care, it's an economic right. And without that economic right, women are going to suffer from more inequality than they do already. This city leads the state. This state leads the country. I echo David's call for our sister communities across this country, our fellow bar associations, to come and do what we're doing, form a group of lawyers who will give of themselves freely in this fight. I want to thank everybody here for their civic-mindedness, their generosity, their goodwill towards the Constitution of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you to the leadership of the Bar Association of San Francisco. We know that as we move forward in the coming weeks, months, and years, there will be many strategies and tactics that will have to be determined. To help lead those efforts is the Executive Director and the General Counsel of the Bar Association of San Francisco, Yolanda Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to our BASF family. Thank you to our BASF family. Thank you for being here. I cannot express how incredibly proud I am to be leading this organization on this day and during these dark and challenging times. BASF always stands when it's needed and when it counts the most. In our 150-year history, we have walked boldly into the fight for due process rights, criminal justice reform, women's equality and women's rights, race equality, and once again, we are walking boldly into the challenge to protect and support the rights of people to exercise their reproductive rights. People seeking abortions have a right to privacy and liberty. People seeking abortions have a right to privacy and liberty. Roe versus Wade is on the verge of being overturned. On January 22nd, 2023, it will be 50 years since the Roe v. Wade decision was decided by the United States Supreme Court. None of us should be proud of this enormous step backward that we are about to take in our nation, and in fact, we all should be very ashamed. But in San Francisco, we always have a lighthouse shining, a symbol of hope and security. Over 20 law firms and counting have come together to be ready and prepared to assist people with legal issues arising out of their exercising their reproductive rights. These legal services will be provided for free. Why? Because these law firms are proud to walk the walk when it comes to upholding the rule of law and protecting constitutional rights. Assisting people when they are at their most vulnerable is what makes most lawyers proud to be a part of our profession. The BASF Lawyers Alliance for Reproductive Rights is facing the crisis head on. We at BASF could not be more proud of the 20-plus firms for their generosity and their big hearts. We at BASF are extremely honored to be collaborating with the San Francisco City Attorney David Chiu and his office in this important endeavor. Finally, I want to invite and encourage my peer executive directors from bar associations from across the nation to replicate this effort in their cities to help people seeking and fighting for their reproductive rights. I want to thank all of the firms who stand ready to bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice. Thank you to our President, Mary McNamara, for this amazing idea to bring these law firms together to protect the rights of those seeking the right to choose and doing what lawyers do best, that is, utilizing their unique skills and their training to help other people. Thank you all for being here this afternoon to support this effort.
Thank you, Yolanda. I'm going to say to the press corps, if you don't recognize the attorneys who are standing to our left and our right, these are not only some of the best lawyers in San Francisco and the Bay in our state, these are some of the best lawyers in the country, and I would just say I would not want to mess with this group. And speaking on behalf of this group is a woman who is representing one of the very first law firms to step up for this effort, partner and co-chair of capital markets practice from Arnold Porter, Kay and Scholler, Teresa Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa Johnson, and I am a partner at Arnold & Porter. I am proud to represent the group of law firms who are coming together with the city attorney and BASF in the Legal Alliance for Reproductive Rights. There are more than 20 firms who have put their hands up and more joining every day. Our mission is simple: to protect people exercising their reproductive rights and the medical providers who give them care and support. As we all know, the Supreme Court appears to be poised to take away a fundamental right that has been on the books for nearly 50 years. That calls for a public-private collaboration to pool our strength and our resources and to fight to ensure the personal and professional safety of pregnant people, doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals. No one should have to put their personal freedom on the line to exercise a constitutional right. We have a dream team of law firms in the coalition, as David noted, comprising some of the finest legal minds in the country. There has been an outpouring of support, both from national and local firms, to what we all see as a tragedy about to unfold. It is my privilege to introduce the firms who are part of this effort currently. Altshuler Berzon, Arguedas, Kasman, Headley, and Goldman, Arnold & Porter, Braun, Hagee, and Borden, Clarence Dyer and Cohen, Koblenz, Patch, Duffy, and Bass, Conrad, Metlitsky, Kane, Crowell and Mooring, Dury, Tangri, Farrell, Braun, and Martel, Glenn, Ager, Bergman, and Fuentes, Hanson, Bridget, Kecker, Van Esten, Peters, Lewis and Llewellyn, Leaf, Cabraser, Hyman, and Bernstein, Moeel, La, Fakuri, Morrison and Forster, Nasiri and Jung, Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison, Ramsey and Ehrlich, Rogers, Joseph O'Donnell, Swanson and McNamara, and Wilkie, Farr, and Gallagher. Special thanks to all of the firms who are a part of this effort. On behalf of all of us, we look forward to working with the other Alliance members to support pregnant people and medical professionals in exercising and supporting reproductive rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, for standing up when it really matters. Our final speaker today, I will introduce in the following way. It's not every day that lawyers and doctors come together on an issue. But the San Francisco Marin Medical Society has been, like BASF, on the forefront of leading important progressive issues. and I'm very grateful to the leadership of the Medical Society for stepping in immediately. We are looking forward to working with our healthcare professionals around the region, around the state, around the country to protect the incredibly important work that they do every day. Here representing the Medical Society is their president, MD, PhD, Dr. Michael Schrader.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for that very generous introduction. So my name is Dr. Michael Schrader, and I'm a primary care doctor here in San Francisco, and I'm also the president of the San Francisco Marin Medical Society. San Francisco Marin Medical Society represents over 3,000 physicians living in San Francisco and living and working in San Francisco and Marin. We have a long history of advocating for the right to choose abortion. We have a long history of advocating for the access for patients to exercise this right. And we feel that abortion is a medical decision to be made by a patient and her physician. I wanted to tell you a little story. I met this, I was telling this trauma physician that I was coming here today, and he told me this story that really resonated with me and I think has some real lessons. So he was a trauma surgeon. A woman came in, she had a traumatic brain injury, and she was brain dead. Now, as part of the evaluation for trauma, they checked for pregnancy. So it turned out that this woman was pregnant. She was brain dead, she was stable, and she was pregnant. Now, it turns out that they were working at an institution that, shall we say, is probably less than forward thinking about reproductive rights. Normally, this woman would have been on life support for 30 days, or I'm sorry, 30 months to, 30 weeks, to carry this fetus to term. The right thing to do in this situation was to withdraw care on this poor woman who met the legal definition of being dead. Now, I want to tell you that the right decision was made in this case, but you could see how legislating these kinds of decisions takes away our power and gives power to legislatures who are not necessarily considering the individual rights of the person involved and the best medical care for the persons involved. So San Francisco Marin Medical Society is proud to be included in this initiative to defend reproductive rights. David Chiu has long been a champion of reproductive freedom, and I want to thank him for making this possible. San Francisco Marin Medical Society will always defend a woman's right to choose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes today's event. I want to say to the press, if you have questions for anyone today, we can do individual interviews afterwards. But again, I want to say to all of you who are here, thank you. Thank you, thank you. We have a lot of work to do together, but we are going to do it together, and we will prevail. Let me ask one final request. Why don't we take a group picture, if everyone can face this way, and see if we can fill in the front here. We'll take a photo, and then we can all say hello again. Step in front here.